Got it. And we are live on YouTube. My goodness, how nice it is to be back. Gordana, hello. Happy Sunday live. It's been so long since we've done this, it feels like. So it's nice to be back together with you.
Yes. Hi, Lucas, and hi, everyone. We are so excited for this Sunday live today because we are going to talk about holding your light and why this is so important, specifically in these times today, because there is so much darkness everywhere, and we need to take our responsibility and hold our light so that we can help others who are in darkness and in despair to find the light. So we are so excited for this.
Yes.
Right, Lucas?
Yes. Oh yeah. We've been talking about when the right time to go live has been, and truth be told, everyone, I've been going through all sorts of very intense energies, and it was like, I don't know if I'm ready to go live. And then, some things shifted, and that's the beautiful thing about, I think, us sharing our journey and sharing these conversations is it's not about perfection. It's not about some sort of image. It's about the real journey that we go through. And, I've been going through it, but this has been all leading up to, I think, this live and talking about holding the light, and especially in times where it could be globally where humanity is going through something, or us personally, we have the opportunity to either allow our light to diminish or be intentional to say, no, I'm going to keep holding this no matter what. They can't take my light out.
Absolutely. And I'm so with you. I mean, if you've been in darkness as a child, like you and I have, and you're breathing today, that means that you know how to hold your light. Even if it's a very small light, you still know how to hold your light. So everyone can hold their light. Everyone can light up the path for others and for themselves. It's a question of being inspired to do so, not forgetting that we all have this light. And I think that it is vital right now because, as you say, you've been going through hell, literally.
Yes.
And you can't fake happiness. You have to find it. So it takes maybe a couple of weeks. It took a couple of weeks for you to find back to the light and to find back to your path. And just because you stand in darkness doesn't mean that it's going to be that way forever.
Right.
It just means that you're deviating from who you truly are, from your purpose here, from whatever it is that you are seeking here on earth. So knowing that that connection can never be broken, it is always there. So you need a way to find back to the light. And I'm glad that you found your path.
Yes, same.
Again.
Same. Yeah. It felt like we were talking about this the other day. There's one of my favorite movies is this movie called Glory, and it's about the American Civil War and the first Black regiment of soldiers that fought in the American Civil War. And I think they fought at Bunker Hill or some fort, but it was in South Carolina. But anyway, the importance of the flag, the banner holder, the person who was not armed with a weapon, but had more impact on the battlefield than anyone else. And that was the person that held the flag up. And if that person fell, someone else would grab that flag and pick it up. And that's how hope like swayed on the battlefield. This concept that we were talking about is concept between dark and light, is like darkness is going to push, but then once we hold up the light, it sways the darkness back. And there's this verse in the Bible. It says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. Meaning if we don't have hope in the present moment, we get sick hearts. And that's why it is so important to find that banner, find that internal light again and cultivate it. And it was for me. And it felt like, I'm going to hold the light here in this region. It seems like I've always heard this term silent majority growing up. This is a term like who is the silent majority? And where I am, seems like there's no one silent on there's a lot of vocal, but not very much light, a lot of fear, a lot of scarcity, a lot of sadness, a lot of sadness. And I've been trying to hold the light for so long, but it just got so close that I started getting angry. Like, why, what are you doing? Why are you not holding the light? Like, why am I having to hold this light for everyone?
Yes.
And that's when the flag analogy or metaphor really made an impact, because I've realized, oh, I could be the last one holding the flag on the battlefield, but so be it. It still means that there's hope.
Exactly. As long as you're holding your own light. As you said, I became angry. Well, when you're angry, then it dims your light.
Yeah.
So it's a question of finding inner control when there is no control in the outer world. And this is what the universe does to us. It says, you know what? You can't control what is outside. You can only control what is inside. So find your balance, find your control. And that's what you do when you say, I can't be angry all the time. That's not good for me. I'm actually abusing myself when I am angry, or when I'm in hatred or judgment, or whatever it is, the darker side of this world. When we dwell for too long in it, it becomes really painful. And the pain is actually the universe telling you, you are sitting in a frequency which is not beneficial for your body, for your mind, for your soul, for your spirit. It's not beneficial. Move away, change. And that's when you need to lift the flag, or pick up your light and start shining, because each and every one of us has this light within. And if we're looking for it on the outside, it can help us for a short moment, maybe lift us a little bit, but it cannot ignite the light within. That needs to be done all by you. You are the light bearer, the light holder within you. So that's where the responsibility is. It's your responsibility to wake up from the anger, or from the judgment, or whatever it is, and then make the changes that need to be changed. I mean, in your case, it's literally to shift from one geographical place to another.
Yes, that's right.
Sometimes it's enough to shift a perspective within you. Sometimes you need to do more, like you have to do. You have to move and create a new life somewhere else. But it's still a shift of perspective that needs to be made. And each and every one of us have to do that. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. It stays dark. What I love about this concept of being a light holder, it's like, you know, a dark road, and each and every one of us who have found this light, or this calmness, or this peace, or the flag, or whatever you want to call it, we stand by this path and hold the light, so that those who have not yet found the light within them can walk the right path to find their truth, to find their freedom. Because the only thing for me, whatever I do on Twitter, the only thing I want is to send out light, so that everyone that enters this light can find their own truth. I won't tell them what my truth is unless they ask me. And I won't judge them if their truth isn't the same as mine. And that, to me, is a question of being free, a question of freedom, so that you can choose your own truth in that light. The only thing that I feel maybe as a condition, in quotation marks, is that the truth that you find has to be connected to love in one way or the other. It has to be filtered through love, because otherwise you're sitting in an illusion. Either way, it gives you fear or something else that will darken your space, so to speak. So that's the only thing. The rest is up to you. Whatever truth you want to choose, stand in the light and find your own path, and we will hold the light for you. So, yeah.
This reminds me, there was a quote, one of the most impactful authors in my life is this man named Thomas Paine. He lived during the late 1700s and wrote many books, one called Common Sense, which is a really powerful book. But he has this quote. He says, "I love the man that can smile in trouble, that can gather strength from distress, and grow brave by reflection. 'Tis the business of little minds to shrink, but he whose heart is firm and whose conscience approves his conduct will pursue his principles unto death. And I thought, what a fascinating way to say hold the light. Essentially, it's a elongated way, but like someone who is reflective, that's the biggest thing, is inward reflection leads to outward correction. Inward reflection of where I need to tweak so that my light can illuminate so brightly.
Yes.
I just found that powerful.
Very much so, because it is an awareness of your own state of consciousness. To become aware when you are sliding into fear or judging someone, and not fall prey to the ego, because ego will pull you in that direction and say, look at this and look at that and here and here, and it will pull you into a drama which is not your drama. The drama will always lead to some kind of darkness. It will not lead you to light. The only thing that leads you to light is forgiving yourself for being in the drama. But the drama itself won't do that. So becoming very much aware of, becoming the observer of your own thoughts and actions and emotions. And I'm not talking about becoming controlling, but saying, strange, look at what I felt. Why did I feel this? Just becoming more curious about what is it that I'm doing and why am I doing this, without judging yourself. And here's where the kindness towards ourselves and towards others come in. Kindness towards ourselves is to maybe make a mistake, see this with this observer from within and say, it's okay, I can see why I did it. Understanding yourself, and then moving back into the observer mode and allowing it to be what it is. But most of us don't do that. We are not kind to ourselves, and that dims our light. I think that dims our light much more than anything on the outside. What we tell ourselves, the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves, of not being good enough, of not being whatever it is that we want to become, not being that yet, will dim our light. So maybe, I don't know, I've thought very much about this. What is the light?
Yes.
So what is the light to you, Lucas?
Because I was going to say, when you're saying, I think the light, it is inseparable from love. And this is where I was like, as you're talking, the word love is probably the most abused word in the human vernacular. It is just such a mess how it's used, what it means. But love, in its truest definition, means to give without condition.
Yes.
And so light has to have its source in love. And it's like you're saying, to be the observer is to love yourself without condition, to observe, to not judge, to question and be curious, to come in and out. But that source, like that spring, the internal spring, is love. It's love of life. It's love of self. It's love of others. That's how I would it. If that's not, I don't think love is the light. I think it's the source of light, perhaps.
Yes, absolutely. And as you say, love is such an abused word, which creates complications when you talk about love and light together, because it creates misunderstandings. For me, absolutely, the way I interpret love, that it is almost equal to light. But light is a little bit more than that, because it's a question of understanding, standing under your highest self, listening to the best version of yourself in this world. That version, that self, higher self, beams the light, and the light contains wisdom, not knowledge, wisdom. Wisdom is to know what's right and wrong, to know your own truth and to act accordingly. And that's where love comes in. The love has to be the filter here. So it's a connected thing. It's about wisdom, knowledge, self-knowledge, understanding, and love. It's a mixture of all of these things. And then when you allow it, it's like allowing spirit to go through you. Spirit is very close to light for me because it's a life force that goes through the observer and looks in this world. It's the life itself. So they're connected. And I would love if we could have a word that could contain all of these things.
Yeah, right.
But light comes, the closest that I can come is to say the light. But at the same time, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Most people would say, yeah, right, okay, light, I'll turn on the light and I'll turn off the light. But
Right.
light is also a very complex word, but we all know when we are in light and
Right.
when we're in darkness. We can see, you can feel the difference. So how does being in light feel for you?
Well, I feel viscerally like alive, energetic. I feel my highest self. And I've shared this before, maybe on one of our lives, but when Jesus says you're the light of the world, without any qualification, it was not about religion. Here's this teacher coming and saying, remember who you are. You're the light of the world. Light was not tied to electricity back then. The only concept of light, the truest form of light, is fire. And fire has to be connected to a source to continually to live. So oil and lamps, wax and a wick and candle, or now we use electricity. But when I think of light, and that's why I'm bringing up fire, is it feels very like visceral. Like when I hold the light, when I walk into a room, or when I stand, or when we share this, it's like we want people to feel. I want people to feel the light. I want people to be in the presence of light. And when we walk in the light, it's like we don't have to agree. We can just be. We can explore together. We can look together. This is, I think, the beauty of humanity. When we walk in the light, I love how you said there's wisdom, and it takes. And what do you think of this? Like, it takes accountability and responsibility to hold space.
Yes.
In the light.
To hold the light, hold space, not just for yourself, but for others too, by not judging them.
Right.
I mean, that is what it is. What you talk about when you say fire, it is like there is a source and then it's radiating out. For me, that is how I would describe light. When I think of light, I see it coming from my heart source and radiating out like this. So if I look at it that way, then the source of the light cannot be found on the outside. It can only be found on the inside. I can help others to feel my light, but I cannot seek it or conditionally wanting it from something on the outside, because it radiates from me. Otherwise, it will come from the outside and touch my surface.
Right.
But it won't touch my heart like the light coming from within. It has to come from within me. And that is the responsibility each and every one of us have. Yes. To find that light and to allow it to radiate out. And that's the problem when we live for too long in darkness, in whatever darkness we are in. And you know what I'm talking about, and so do I. Because if you have had a dark childhood, then you know how it feels to live in darkness. It feels like sitting in a box. It feels constrained. You can't breathe, trapped. Yes. So there is no radiating out. It comes from the outside in, whereas the light comes from inside and out. And for me, it's like talking about ego and soul. It's the same thing. I mean, when you say, oh, it feels like I'm connected to my soul, it radiates out and it feels good. You can open your arms. When you know that you're in ego, it's like when you are afraid and you want to push away something that is coming from outside towards you. So it's the same thing. There is a correlation between the two. So knowing that the source of that light is within you and the source of the darkness is on the outside.
Yes. It's very, as you're sharing this, it's almost like I want to tell people, like, bless them with the light and like, get up, like, come out of this. I'm giving you permission. We together can be free. Like, come out of this. Because I think in ego, and certainly I've been in ego, or was in ego for a while, past couple weeks, in that anger and there's no connection to another in ego. That is no. For sure. There's zero connection. It just wants to be affirmed and being right, versus holding space and realizing that we're all one in this journey. I mean, literally, if I push into the ether energetically somewhere in Sweden, it eventually comes to you. We are all interconnected through this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And soul and light and love. It's like, arise, get up. Like, this is the resurrection. It wasn't meant to be a religion of a cult of personality. It's for all of humanity to say, come out, like, be in the light, live in the light, let the light be in you, let the light live in you.
And absolutely, it is totally about recognizing the light within.
Yeah.
Acknowledging it. When you are in grief or fear or whatever darkness that you sit in, ego won't allow you to see the light. It will push you to look for the light on the outside, and it will disappoint you because you can't find it on the outside. You can be inspired by it, allowing spirit in. From outside, but the spirit comes from within. It has to come from within. So I don't know why I'm going back to this, because I know that many people don't like the word responsibility, but I want to use this word in a loving way, in a creative way, to understand that this responsibility is actually about you being the only one who can respond to that light, because it's your light. It's no one else's. It's your source, your spirit, your life force going through you. And to acknowledge it is to allow it to shine. When you do that, you authenticate it for others to do the same thing. That is what being authentic means. When you allow that light, it's not about being overly positive. It's not about not seeing the dangers or the fear or whatever it is that is out there, but it's about, regardless of that, still standing and holding your light. That is what courage and fearlessness is. There is, in my book, in the end of my book, I talk about that you are the light in the darkness. You are the courage in the fear. You're the calmness in the storm. There is no light, there is no courage, there is no calmness, and there is no love unless you allow it through you into this world. Because for you, if you're not allowing it through, it doesn't exist. You're the creator of it. You're the source of it. So everything else becomes on the surface unless you allow it to come in this world through you. And it's...
The word transcendence comes up. It's really to transcend.
Yes.
It's so interesting. The more, it happens to be Sunday and we do these lives, and a lot of people go to church on Sunday. And I grew up in church and was a minister and ran my own ministry and many things in that world. But as I study, grow, and wisdom seeps in more and more, I think of all these parables, like walking on the water or sleeping in a storm, or they're, like walking through a crowd that wants to kill him and he departs, like talking about Jesus. That is the story of transcending the circumstance, not letting ego, like literally being at peace in the storm. Like, I am held perfectly regardless of the outside. And it's so easy to forget sometimes if we're not constantly, it's easy for myself. And I think this is why light is so beautiful in the context of fire, because candles don't diminish their light when they share their light with another candle. And sometimes candles can get flickered out and the smoke comes, and then another candle said, here you go. It's like, and so there's this transcendence of togetherness in this journey. There's also this transcendence of being held and contained in spirit or in the great cosmos, that we are okay. And when we can come from that place, it's very natural to walk in the light, to hold the light, to say, it's going to be okay no matter what. We're together, we're one. Here, your light goes down, I'll share my light with you, like you do with me. And we have these conversations, like,
Yes, absolutely.
it's natural.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing your own light, as you say, being there, holding that light. And no one says it's easy. Sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes this light feels like it's going out.
Yep.
And that's where the other ones can help you to remember that it won't go out. All you need to do is focus on it a little bit and it will start again. It's a question of focusing on it. So how do we focus on the light within when times are really challenging? Because it's easy to allow the ego to say, don't look at the light. Here's where the drama is, and here's where you need to protect yourself, and here's the fear. So go on. That's where you need to be with your awareness. How do we stay in this light, or how do we make it grow from within? Because it might feel like an impossible thing when you sit there in the darkness. I remember myself as a 17-year-old girl, and I was sitting in my room, and I felt like this darkness is not allowing me to breathe. And it almost felt easier to stop breathing than to breathe in. Now that's darkness.
Yeah.
And then I heard a little cat meowing outside of my window. And it brought my attention to something else. And I looked outside, and it was standing there fluffy and beautiful. And it might sound like a very, like nothing, but to me, it shifted my perspective from this darkness that my ego was presenting to me into something that maybe needed my help. So I walked outside, picked up the cat, helped the cat, and started to think about life in a different way. Even if it's a very trivial thing, but still, it's a question of shifting your perspective. Giving help to someone might help you find your own light.
Yes.
So that's one thing to do this. Do you have any things you do when you feel that, oh, this is too dark, I don't know where to go with this darkness?
Definitely focusing out and serving others. But for me, when I surrender, when I just remember, I cannot, I try to hold, what I personally, in a prayer a couple of weeks ago, I say, God, I am so tired of trying to figure it out on my own, try to think it through, navigate, strategize. What if I do this, and how could this all work? I was so done. I'm like, I need you to bring it to me. I need it to be natural. I guess when I say that, I mean, I want it to be natural. I'm so tired of forcing anything. The more I just like surrender to me now, here, I feel seen by God. I feel seen by myself in a way that it's like, I'm here now. Tomorrow, I can't control. Today, I can't. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know, but I do know that the more I surrender, the more I feel back in alignment to the light.
Yeah, when you say natural, it's because it is natural. It's a birthright. When we are deprived, or when our freedoms are taken away, we feel like prisoners in the world. And that is not our natural state of being. I mean, no one can grant you freedom, right?
Right. That's exactly right.
It cannot be given to you because you're born with it. You're born free. Everything else is a conditioned illusion. So
Mhm.
when you surrender, when you say, okay, I don't know, help me, I don't know how to deal with this, and you feel the lightness, is because love, freedom, choice
Yes.
is our natural state of being.
Yes.
And when you surrender to that, you allow your mind to become free so that you can see the choices. You can feel the freedom of that choice. You can feel expansion, and that is your natural state of being.
Right.
So, surrendering to that energy, which is your natural state of being, you
Yes.
call it God, other people might call it life force or
Yeah.
source or
Source or
whatever it is, or
universe.
the force,
Yeah.
whatever they want, but it's still something that feels natural to us because it is what we're made of.
Yes. Yep.
Everything else that is constricting, that is creating this push of darkness, is an illusion,
Mm.
albeit a very persistent one in this physical world. But still, when we find the time to breathe in and breathe out and say, okay, I surrender, I let this be, because as you say, I cannot change the future because I'm not there yet. And I can't do anything about the past because I'm here right now. So now moment, and the now moment is always full of everything. Everything is contained in the now moment. So
Mm.
surrendering to this actually reminds you of who you truly are.
Mm.
You are all that is in this now moment,
Yes. Yes.
choosing what you want to perceive, choosing what kind of movement you want. And just reminding yourself of that takes awareness. But it also, as I say, you're responsible for being present in the now moment and doing this inner work so
Yes.
that you will find your own light. It's beautiful how you described it.
I love, it's funny growing up in the world that I came from. It used to really trigger me and I'm so glad you said, I call it God. Some
Mhm,
people call it source. Some people
mhm.
call it universe. Who cares? I used to. That's the funny thing. I used
Yeah.
to care like deeply, like, what do you mean? Like, rah, 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 rah. And
Mm,
I'm like, even saying the word God, is the word God sort like the
mhm,
no, it's just a word or a sound that I make to ascribe my context to
mhm.
whatever this infinite, unconditional amazingness is. That's how I would say.
Yes, yes.
The word God, is that God? No. Is also the word source. No, but these are words, and I love that, to hold space for one another, like wherever. I mean, it's so funny. Prana or chi or whatever.
Yes.
Like everyone has different words for this. The neshama, the
Yes.
soul is like,
Yes.
we all make this incredibly beautiful tapestry when we can hold space for each other's light. And I think that I'm so glad you shared all the different words of whatever, because I know people get triggered when they hear God.
Mm.
And I used to get triggered when I hear universe or so, whatever it is.
Yes.
It's so
Yes.
funny. And it's like,
Yes.
no, may we all hold space for one another in whatever term we can
Yes.
grasp in this present moment. Because none of the
It,
words are exactly what we're trying to say, because who knows,
yes, the word God is a container,
Yeah.
and what you put in that container is very much defined by who you are and your
Yeah.
upbringing and everything that you've been through. What I put in it, it comes from my upbringing and
Yeah.
my life and my way of seeing this reality. So when people ask you, do you believe in God? I have to say, okay, so let's define it first. And the way you define God, yes, I do believe in God,
Right. Right.
because we have the same definition. I would say
Yes.
source, or I mean, you could, if you want to go into another direction, you could say the quantum field containing everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
like everything is packed into it. What's
Yeah.
going to be, what was, and what is now, everything is packed into it. Well, that's
Right.
God.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's one and the same thing. But the most important thing is to know when you rest in that. When you
Mm.
say, I surrender to this because I don't know how to deal with this.
Mm.
That means that you surrender to something that is connected to you and that is bigger than you.
Yes. Yes.
Meaning it contains more options, it contains more love, it contains more light, and it can help you find your own light. So
Mm.
surrendering to that is, it's like when you start breathing, you allow this force in and out, like allowing the universe to breathe you. And you remember that you don't have to figure out how to breathe, because you do it all the time. The universe, the God, whatever it is, it helps you breathe. It breathes for you. It's the same thing with everything. I think that when we go into fear or worry or, you know, the negative stuff, we think that we need to control everything, including our breathing.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's when life becomes really small. It becomes as small as I am or as you are, your
Yeah.
physical body. But we
Yeah.
are so much bigger than that. And there is so much more power to us.
Yes.
And that's what it means to hold the light. When you know that there is much more within you, not just what you're perceiving and seeing and believing in that now moment, if it's a dark moment, knowing that there is always an equal amount of light somewhere in this physical world.
Mm.
It's always there.
One of the things that's coming up is I love that the analogy of the road and these lamp posts, these light posts
Yes.
down the road, and at night when those are on, because they're not needed during the day, but at night, it's not that it illuminates the world as the daylight does, but it creates enough context of where to keep going on this path. And one of the things of light, I think light is unifying, but also, and this is there's a dichotomy here. Light is unifying. So when we are all in light, we can all see each other for who we truly are. But then then the light ends at some space, and that's where darkness begins. And I would say, like, if anyone's listening, how I would reflect on, am I holding my highest light, is, am I bringing others into my journey, allowing them to be exactly who they are, see them for who they are. Where I am currently at, just the narrative doesn't allow for another person to be who they are. And yet I think these people think they're in the light. And that doesn't make any sense. How can light reject another who also wants to be in the light? It cannot be.
It cannot. No,
It doesn't exist.
cannot. It's the ego rejecting everything that is. It's the ego rejecting. So knowing that real light, not the illusionary light of the ego, giving you a boost or, you know, giving you some kind of high.
Yeah.
Real light is including. That doesn't mean that you allow people who are violent into your reality, but it does mean that you forgive them and release yourself from that energy. On an energetic plane, when we hold someone in non-forgiveness, it is actually ego energy being connecting us, and that is darkness in itself. So we can do a lot of things from within with ourselves without even talking to anyone on the outside, still being the light holder by forgiving what needs to be forgiven, releasing what needs to be released, so that we don't have these dark chains to other people who are no longer in our reality, but live in our mind, for instance. I'm talking about past, and you're talking about real human beings around you, but that's why you're moving. That's why you move. When you are in a different place, it might be easier for you to say, I see their pain, because you're not affected by their pain. But as it is now, as soon as you walk out, you will be affected by their pain and their choicelessness, by their non-freedom, and that triggers something within you, because
Yes.
on the deepest level, we want to see everyone free. We want to see people thriving, not just surviving.
Right.
I mean, when our love for life has to be greater than our fear of death. I cannot stop repeating this because that is the light. Love for life, our own life and everyone else's life, respect for it, and the freedom that is embedded in this. Well, also, we need to include ourselves in this equation because most of us do not include ourselves in this love.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
So finding this light can have a lot to do with becoming more aware of the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves and about others. It's in the stories that we tell ourselves. The stories can either help you allow the light through you, or it can close it down. And you feel it. You feel it when,
Yes.
let's say that you're gossiping about someone and it feels good in the moment, but then afterwards there is this lingering feeling of I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have done that. It comes up in your mind. And as soon as it's in your mind, it is your ego working with it, keeping you busy, occupied, so that you will not be present in the now moment and say to yourself, well, that was not kind. I need to release that. That was not what I needed to do.
Right.
So
I have a
yes,
story. Sorry, can I share a
go
story?
ahead. Of course,
So
go ahead.
when I started my marketing agency, I was 26 years old. I left almost 27 and left the newsroom as a reporter, started this marketing agency, and I had 5 employees and myself. And because I had the background and the childhood I grew up, I was pretty much almost in all ego.
Yes, I
can say that
know.
looking back. I was pretty much in 100%
Yeah.
ego. And because I needed to learn the lesson of breaking the cycle of the abuser, I was attracting all these abusive men and clients into my business. And it was just like, I was a magnet for them. So I would be on the phone, and I'm trying to grow this company and business. And so I'm on the phone with them like, yeah. But they're just rude. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. And I hang up, and I'd be like, what a jerk. Like, what a jerk. And I mean, they were not kind humans. I will say that in hindsight, but I didn't have to say that, but my employees would hear me say that. I get off the phone, nice to them, and I hang up. What a jerk. So a year later, I had this big team meeting, and there was a whole bunch of disruption. And I write about it in my book. That's my book. Everyone has a plan till they get punched in the face. Is about this few years early on in business. But I had this meeting, and this one employee who I'm friends with today, we actually had reconciliation a couple years ago. She called, and we just had a great reconnection. But she said to me in this team meeting, she said, every time you're on the phone with a client, you talk nice to them on the phone, but you hang up and you speak bad about them. And we don't know if you do the same thing about us.
Yes.
And it forever changed me in that moment. It didn't keep me out of ego, but it definitely imprinted upon my soul. It's not even about, you were saying, gossiping and the lingering energy. It's that, why are we not thriving in the light that we are? If we are in ego, it keeps us contained, because people say, I can't trust that person and their energy. So when we gossip or we speak ill of someone, or we're one way one time and another way another time, it's like a dog where it might bite you and you don't know. And you're like, can I pet this dog? It seems nice today, but what about tomorrow? And that keeps us from enjoying light with one another. And it certainly did for me. And it was a huge lesson for me. And truly, I can say with almost 100% accuracy, I've never done that since that day. It's been interesting, but I don't know. You said gossiping, and it's still feels terrible. It's not good energy.
No, it's not good energy. But do you see how much courage it takes for this girl, the woman that told you this? Because she told you this
Yeah.
not because she wanted to hurt you.
Right.
She actually showed love
Yeah.
because she knows that this isn't who you are.
Right. Right.
This isn't who you are. This is something else going through you. Also, I was thinking about it while you spoke about how it kept sending you these people, these
Yeah.
abusive people.
Yeah.
And this is how the universe or God or quantum field or whatever we want to call it, this is how it speaks to you. It says, you have an issue and
Yeah.
you need to solve it. And
That's right.
as long as you're not solving it, it will send you worst cases
Yes.
all the
Yes.
time until you can see it. So you have a soul mate in that woman who says to you,
Mm.
you need to look at this because this isn't who you are. It's like an angel
Yeah.
speaking to you,
Yes.
telling you what could have happened is that your ego could have been triggered again. And you could say, oh, I don't like her because she
Mm.
found a trigger within you or she
Yeah.
pushed a button within you.
Yeah.
But that's where you found your own light because
Hmm.
you become humble and you think, oh my God, this might be right. And this isn't who I am. This isn't who I want to be. So you pull back and without guilt tripping yourself, you
Mm.
allow this light to bring you to the surface.
Yes. Yeah.
And I love that. I love that because it could have backfired on you many times.
Yeah.
Didn't
Totally.
because
Yeah.
you were present, and that is what it means to hold your own light, even if it when it's really very very small, like you putting down the phone and saying what a jerk. Your
Mhm.
light is still there, keeping that light and being aware, not being offended by something that is the truth. If
Hmm.
someone speaks the truth to you, don't be offended by it. If you feel like, oh, what is this, why is this person saying this to me, look at it. Is there some truth in this? Why am I so angry? Because if I would have told you what an ugly red shirt you have, you would say to me, I don't, it's blue, she's colorblind, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I would say, what an idiot you are, you would say, why is she saying this to me? I'm not.
Right. That's funny.
Being present, and by the way, you're not.
For sure.
I just used
That's a
it.
great example, and I here I am. Yeah.
Yes, it's a question of presence. It's a question of willingness. I love this word, willingness. All the clients that I have this willingness to
Mm,
look at themselves from a higher perspective.
that's right.
And that is what I love about that's the clients that I attract. I attract people who are really willing to look at themselves from a higher perspective. Because as soon as you start doing that, this light, you are illuminated from within.
Mm,
That is what this self-illumination means, to be able to look at yourself from a higher perspective and
mm,
say, okay, this is not what I want to be.
yeah.
Because your body and your physical presence is just an extension of your higher self. And
Yes.
your higher self is the one looking at this and saying, wait, let's change this. I want you to be this, not that. That's the illumination when you feel like, okay, I need to change something.
Mm, that's really
Being
good.
right,
That's
yes.
really good. Um, the the surrender, the humility, the willingness, all these things. I used to tell my employees that there is no can't. Can't actually is a fallacy of our mind,
Mm,
and only the left brain analyze the left brain, which is usually an ego, will pull it. But what about?
mhm,
And I say no. There's I want to think of things that are impossible. I can't fly right now. Okay,
mhm,
yes, but that's not. I might not be able to fly my body, but I can go fly in an airplane or figure it out.
mhm,
But my point is, there's only will or will not.
mhm. And
That's the
both
only
are
truth.
okay. Yes,
Both are
both
okay,
are
but there's
okay.
no
Yes,
can't. It's just
yes,
being
yes,
honest with ourselves to say, I
yes.
will, or I will not. So the willingness is like the humility to grow, the humility to expand, the humility to say, of course I know I don't know it all, and I want to be better, and I want to seek more, and I want to improve, and I want to grow my light and my love and my presence and my impact on this world, and be who I am truly am, shedding in those layers. But if someone says I can't be like you, or I can't be like that, that's not true. It's just, will you be, are you willing, like you're saying,
willing, the
be
willingness,
like you, the true you, not you in direction of another, but the true us. Takes willingness. I think that is so, that is such a key takeaway from this, is the willingness, the humility. Not false humility, not like, oh, I'm this, or I'm an idiot, you know. But the true humility to say, what else don't I know? What else can I learn? What else can I be?
Yes, absolutely. You know, the willingness to, but that would also be fearlessness. Willingness and fearlessness are two things that are very connected to each other, because the way you looked at what she showed you, she mirrored back a dark side. And you know that you're light. So if you're able to look at the light and the darkness, it actually gives you a choice. If you're willing to look at the things and not beat yourself up when you see the darkness, because we all have shadows. There is not one human being on earth that does not have a shadow. If they don't have a shadow, I don't know if they're human. So everyone has a shadow. Acknowledging what you see and then correcting it so that it will be as small as it can be in your reality. That is what you did when she told you, you know what, that's not okay, because you're sowing doubt in us. We don't know who you are and how you interpret us, if you are honest or not honest, if you're authentic or not authentic. And she gave you that mirror back. You look at it and you say, okay, there's a darkness here, but there's also light, because that is who I am. And the willingness to look at the darkness and say, okay, I see it, and then release it, change it, say no to it, whatever it is that you need to do. But you have to see both of them. You have to see, otherwise there is no choice in it. To say, well, I live in light all the time, that is not the truth either. We have an ego. There is a purpose with the ego here, and it will always push our buttons. It will always push us into something. And that's what makes this life so beautiful, because we don't know. We are looking for the funny rush of a surprise, and the ego will give you the funny rush of a surprise all the time. It's like when you are too long in the darkness, where you become blind so that you won't see the light. And when that becomes your normal way of being, normal in quotation marks, and puts you in pain and you don't know how to get out of it, that is where the willingness is key, and the fearlessness to look at it and say, okay, I see it, and this is not who I am. So the willingness and the fearlessness to look at both the light and the darkness within you creates a choice, and this choice gives you freedom.
Yes. And that freedom, true freedom, which is soul freedom, gives others permission. This is what I mean. Like, it's almost like rise, like get up, like come, like rise from the dead. Let's live. Let's viscerally live. And it might cost us our physical life, but it was everything in this. I like, this is it. This is the visceral. When you were saying like, how does light feel? It feels very visceral to me, like exhilarating, like inspired. I write in my book, inspired people inspire people, but conversely is true as well. Uninspired people uninspire people. And it's like, if you had wood to start a fire, but one pile is wet and one's crisp and dry, doesn't matter how much we try to light that wet wood. It's like,
what I feel is important to add to this is that it's contagious.
Yeah. Yeah.
The light is contagious. So
Yes.
is laughter, so is love, but so is anger, and so is all the negative, all the negative feelings too.
Yes.
So this is where, again, and I'm coming back to this, the responsibility of what you are allowing to come into this world is crucial,
Mm,
because it's contagious. It's more contagious than a virus
yes.
because
Yeah.
that's how fast it travels. I mean, I could sit here, look like it's raining outside and it's darkness around me, and you would feel the same thing. You wouldn't be able to hold the light the
Right.
way you hold the light now, because we're helping each other to hold the light.
Yes.
That is, many people would say, well, that's kindness. Well, yes, that is kindness, but that is also to be present to who you are, who
Mm,
I am and who you are, and feel that it is okay to show you who I am, because you won't attack me, and you
right.
can show me who you are. I won't attack you. By attacking, that means judging you. I will listen to you and I will wait for you to finish
Mm,
before I add something to whatever it is you said. And the same thing goes for you. So it's like adding things. It's like giving each other presents and adding
yes.
things to this consciousness that we've created between us.
Yes.
I think that's a way to shine your light. If you start every sentence with yes, but,
Right.
then you're turning off the light. Your ego is winning.
Right.
Oh, it's winning. And you might feel good for 10 minutes, but then there is no light, because you will be alone with your ego.
Yeah. You're stuck in darkness. There is staticness, but in light,
Mhm.
there is expansiveness. That is true. Like
Yes,
it.
yes.
Mm,
Yeah. You know, there's another analogy that I use when it comes to how to keep this light alive.
mm,
Because in this physical world, there is, everything has two sides. There is darkness and there is light. There is night and there is day. There is black and white. It's always a duality, which
mhm.
means that when we breathe in, when we breathe, our body knows how to keep the oxygen and to allow the carbon oxide to come out of our body, which means that we're literally breathing in poisonous gases, but
Mm,
our body knows what to do with it. It keeps the oxygen and releases the rest. Well, it's the same thing with consciousness. We
mm,
expand in the same way. We're not moving higher up or forward. We're
right.
actually standing still, and every time we have an illuminating experience, it's like allowing consciousness to go out there and pick out anything. So it will pick out as many pluses as minuses. And it's your job to know what pluses you want to keep and what minuses you want to release.
Yeah.
That is how you keep this light. But if you keep everything, or you just focus on the negative stuff, the minuses, that is what you will keep inside of you. It will be like carbon oxide in your body. It
Mm,
is poisonous.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
won't keep you alive. It will keep you in a very small state of being. So how to expand your consciousness and how to hold that light is to acknowledge that there are two sides to this. There is a shadow and there is a light.
Yes.
And when you can see the shadow, you're breathing in, you have the shadow and you have the light, and you go, okay, so what's the brightest part of this? How can I find the brightest side of this? And
Mm,
then you pick that side. It might not be exactly what you want, but pick the brightest side of it. That's how you keep your own light.
so good. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
And release the rest. Release.
Release it like breathing out,
Yes.
just
Exhale.
releasing it.
Yeah.
Breathing out, allowing it to be there. Breathing out guilt, breathing out stuff that you don't like about yourself.
Yeah.
I think I can't say this enough, because many of us know how to be kind to others. Many of us know how to help others with guilt and all the stuff that they need help with. But we never, ever speak to ourselves in the
Mm,
same manner as we would speak to a good friend.
right. Right.
When you look at yourself in the mirror in the morning, I mean, how many of us do not look at the wrinkles and the stuff, and the hair is all wrong, and we find all the faults that we can when we look in the mirror? And that's how we leave ourselves. We walk out of the bathroom, leaving this person in that mirror like, you're no good.
Yeah, right.
What if we did something else? What if we look in the mirror and we say, I will do everything to make you happy today.
Mm,
What do you need? And then listen, what does this person in the mirror tell you?
yes.
It might, my person, my woman always says, take care of me. Please take care of me. I need to
Yeah,
rest.
yeah.
And I go, got it. Today I will help you rest.
Mm,
Because I, the one looking, is infinite source.
so good. So
I
good.
am the observer of this. The woman that I see in the mirror is an expression of what I'm experiencing in this physical world. I
Mm,
am the source of the light that this woman needs. Why am I not giving it to her? Why am I looking at the wrinkles and the hair and all the stuff that I find that isn't perfect?
right.
I am perfect. The one looking is
Yes.
perfect.
Yes.
Why
Yes.
am I looking for flaws? I mean, I can't understand this. So
Mm,
every morning now, I start with saying, what do you need today?
mm,
And listen to what she says.
beautiful.
Take care of me almost every single day. That's what I hear. Oh, I want us to do this. Why can't everyone listening to this tomorrow morning when you wake up, look in the mirror and ask the person in the mirror, what do you need from me today? I think Mel Robbins has written a book. I don't know the name of it, but she talks very much about this mirror stuff, looking into the mirror and asking the mirror person, what do you need from me today? It's such a
Mm,
simple thing. I think she high fives herself or something like that.
mm,
The book is called High Five something. What anyway, it's such a profound idea to look at yourself from the observer position in the morning
yes.
and actually ask the human being in the mirror, what can I do to you for you? Because that is the true relationship
Mm,
between our highest self and the physical body that we're in.
mm,
Asking the highest self to help you in
mm,
this world. I
beautiful.
really think it's so important.
Yeah.
That's how we find that light, because we take care of ourselves. We
Mm,
understand that we are important in this world.
it's beautiful.
Mm.
And in closing, because I know we're a little past the
What
hour,
is
but
the time?
you said,
Yes.
what can I do to you? Or and then you're like, no, what can I do for you? And that is
Yes.
that's it.
Yes.
Either we see life happening to us or we see life
Yes.
happening for us. We are either doing
Yes.
something to ourselves or we are in responsibility doing something for ourselves.
Yes.
The 4 is expansive and light and love and consciousness and freedom. The 2 is scarcity, dichotomy,
Yes.
contract, all the darkness. So
Yes.
let's do things for ourselves.
Yes. Because doing it to yourself is abusive. It's
Yes.
abuse.
Yes.
So let's do things for ourselves, being willing to look at ourselves from the highest possible perspective
Mm.
and holding the light.
Yes. It's beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for everyone listening. Lantern. Um, thank you, Suresh and Patriotic Patrio Q holding the front line. Thank you. Right on. Thank you for watching, everyone. And we will see you next Sunday.